something I want to like talk about is what's this specific and special thing we listen, and I'm talking about a very commoner, that Boeing, the 747, Airbus A380, Antonov, Maria coming down and landing, and like media is covering that, like big planes coming to this, and they they're projecting it like, okay, it's something which is really very big happened. As an ATC, like air traffic controller, does it changes something? Does it actually affect you, or like how does it work when we talk about, for a commoner it's a big thing. Does it change something for you?
That's a good question. In fact, aviation is something which amuses us, isn't it? What is natural is for birds to fly.
Right.
For metallic birds to fly, it's something very special.
Right.
You know, I crawled on an apron when I was a small baby. I mean, those days airports were pretty much open. You didn't have these security cordons and all that. So after the flights happened, many of the airports, I mean, like you know, people who worked at the airport had easy access.
Easy access to that.
So I've grown by seeing these, you know. But I
Where
also
exactly?
Started off in Madras, and then those days Chennai, and then Madurai, different airports. And then subsequently, you know, when I was in school, and you know, people knew that I come from the airport. I mean, I used to live in an airport colony at some point in time, and then some of my classmates knew. They were always pretty amused. Even today, I know. I mean, like, lots of people keep asking me, is it possible for me to, you know, visit the ATC center or visit an airport? Can you take me? You know, increasingly, the nature of the job, given the heightened requirements of safety and security, it becomes a little difficult for everybody to have a visit. Unless they are interns or they are trainees, or I mean, they are doing some apprenticeships and so on and so forth. This is something which has always amused people, aviation. I mean, even today when you walk down the street, if there's an aircraft, then yeah, so you lift your head up and then you look at it. I take a walk in the Vasant Kunj Park. I mean, I was in ATC till 2010. I was a radar controller and a watch supervisory officer. When I was transferred to the regional headquarters in the headquarters, I would, every time I walk, I used to count the aircraft, how many aircraft are landing, what is the interval between them, and so on and so forth. You know, whether the controller is doing a good job, or I would call them up if I see something. So, aviation is very, very interesting. And for the media also, it is interesting. And then, the bigger it gets, like when you talk about Boeing 747, when the size of an aircraft, you know, an Airbus 380, and then imagine you can take, you know, so many hundreds of passengers. So, an Airbus 320 can only take about 180 passengers, and then you can take more than 500, 600 passengers.
777 as well, no?
A 777 is long haul. I mean, like, yeah, again, it can carry quite a lot of passengers. So, anything which is big. So, there are two things, like, you know, some of the aircraft are only made for short hauls, some are made for medium hauls, some are made for long hauls. So, you always get excited about the long haul flights. You know, an all-woman crew on a Women's Day, you know, all the way from, say, Bangalore to
Delhi,
New York or San Francisco,
long haul, right.
would always attract a lot of attention. And somebody flying over the pole, I mean, some of the aircraft took take the polar route. So, that makes it very interesting. So, in aviation, anything which is done, and the bigger it gets, you know, magnitude also is attractive. So, it is quite natural even for the media to hype it, you know, the antennas. You call it a Gajraj. I mean, I've read, there's an author by name Balakumaran, a very famous author in Tamil Nadu. He worked on a novel and in fact even made me a character. I mean, like, just a name. Swaminathan was converted into Vaidyanathan. I had a colleague of mine who I consider my guru, Mr. Sylvester Israel, who retired as an executive director at ATFM. So, unka Stephen Manoharan Israel bana diya, Sylvester Israel ko. So, he made some characters in ATC. Of course, it was not well researched like Arthur Haley does a research. No, 5 saal research karke ek novel nikalta hai. You can't find a single flaw in the novel, like Airport or even Final Diagnosis. I was a medical representative, or you know, I was working for the FMCG Glaxo. So when I read the you know, Strong Medicine or something like that, I enjoyed it so much. And then subsequently with the aviation background, so Arthur Haley does a lot of research. But Balakumaranji, a well-known author, I mean, a great author, much celebrated, काफी films में भी काम किया उन्होंने. So supposed to be an intellectual. But he didn't do much of a research. 2-3 बार एयरपोर्ट में आए कुछ किए. But even he had written कि एयरफोर्स का IL-76 लैंड हो रहा है एंड साइड में ग्रास कटिंग वर्क चल रहा है. He learned all that from us through interaction. एंड एक लड़का ग्रास कट कर रहा है, बाई मिस्टेक वो उसको पता नहीं है, तो रनवे के पास चला जाता है. सो ही वाज ट्राइंग टू मेक दैट इनटू एन एनिमेटेड ड्रामा. तो टावर कंट्रोलर बोलता है गजराज गजराज क्लियर लाइन, ऑल्दो यू डोंट, वो होता नहीं है, कॉल साइन से बुलाते हैं. सपोज इट इज इंडिया फॉक्सट्रॉट चार्ली 1 2 3 4 ऐसा बुलाया जाता है.
Tell me something, please. No,
फोनेटिक्स. We'll come to phonetics. So गजराज गजराज क्लियर लाइन लिखा था उन्होंने. So size matters. So when you're talking, if he talks about a pushpak cleared land or a Cessna cleared land, it won't make a story.
Right.
But Gajraj, मतलब jumbo Boeing 747. So जो बड़ा है, it always is that much more amusing. So the size also matters. That's it.
These.
You're talking about phonetics.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, a very interesting. In fact, when I joined the Civil Aviation Training College, one of my colleagues' father happened to be an air traffic controller, so he came with that background and he already knew phonetics.
Already knew phonetics?
Phonetics, because his dad would have taught him, right? So he and another trainee colleague of mine, they were talking in phonetics. Fortunately for me, I mean, I didn't know what they were talking. So they would say, Alpha, Lima, Lima, Tango, Hotel, Echo. So I don't understand what is it they talk. They're talking a sentence and they're converting into phonetics, breaking it into phonetics. So then my roommate and batchmate, who the former General Secretary of the Air Traffic Controllers Guild, late Brijender Shekhar Shukla, we are today, in fact, all controllers owe a lot to him. I mean, we are what we are because of him. He made the profession very, very special in India, thanks to all his efforts. So he was from the police service. वो मध्य प्रदेश में he was a sub inspector भोपाल में. तो he knew phonetics, क्योंकि वो रेडियो वायरलेस में आप इसमें भी इनका भी पुलिस का भी देखोगे, ओवर एंड आउट एंड ऑल दैट आप सुनोगे ना, वायरलेस जब वो यूज करते हैं वो भी phonetics यूज करते हैं. So he knew the phonetics and he taught me. And then it was easy for me to decipher what these fellows were saying. But okay, this story apart, because I thought it should be a very interesting thing.
It is.
And when I write my autobiography, probably I'll write about all this. Pretty interesting phase of my life. Yeah.
Right.
So phonetics क्या होता है? Normally we all pronounce words differently, right? हर एक का अलग अलग pronunciation होता है. तो जैसा जीप चलता है, तो and then it also, अभी भी मद्रास से जो आता है वो circuit बोलेगा, circuit नहीं बोलेगा, circuit बोलेगा. I've seen lots of people here in Punjab who are saying measurement instead of measurement. नहीं, so हर एक प्रांत का एक अलग अलग होता है. So you get used to it. And a Malayali would always say office, not office. Office.
I haven't heard anyone.
Yeah. So they say auditor, not auditor. Okay. So we all do that. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on any community, but then it's pretty common. I have my own flaws, right? So phonetics में क्या advantage? So the pilots come from different background. There is a British Airways flight landing in Delhi. You may not understand what I talk at times. So in order to make things very, very clear, there are times the controllers will have to use the phonetics.
And to generalize it?
So A is Alpha, B is Bravo, C is Charlie, D is Delta. So the first letter of that particular word. So it is like D as in Delta. D as in dog नहीं बोलते हैं, Delta बोलते हैं. So time and again, I क्या वो publishes की for each of these things.
I understand that. Like
So and very interesting is, and I made a poster once. I में India है.
I में
India. Suppose I want to say I. That is why I said India Foxtrot Charlie. IFC अगर है कहीं एक call sign में, you use India. I for India. So India is the only country which has the distinction in the radio telephony of being used for a particular letter. A से अमेरिका नहीं होता, R से रशिया नहीं होता है.
Delta, Charlie and
yeah, it is Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Golf and all that. Foxtrot, F is Foxtrot. So F is not France, but I use India. So I made a poster once, and so it is a very interesting.
Is it available somewhere on the net too?
Yes. You can always go to radio telephony, ICAO radio telephony, and then.
So is it specific to air traffic control only, or it's like?
No, so the pilots also. So wherever you want to say, communicate something, and you want to, for some reason, there are multiple say agains.
How does it used? I mean, if you can give me an example.
Yeah. The example would be, suppose I say, I'm trying to use a word, say grass, and then the person says, the pilot says, say again. He doesn't understand the way I pronounce it.
Yeah, grass.
I just say Golf, Romeo, Alpha, Sierra, Sierra. Then it becomes easy for him. So he takes the first letters of all these things. Golf, Romeo, Alpha, Sierra, Sierra, grass. So it becomes easy. So phonetics are used wherever for some reason the communication is not completely
And
understood.
do we give names to the planes as well?
Yeah, normally, every airline files for a radio telephony call sign.
Okay.
So Indigo is iFly.
iFly.
Jet Airways used to be Jet Airways, Air India is Air India. Okay. Indian Airlines used to be Indair. Indair.
Okay.
You got for different airlines, like so Qantas is Qantas, British Airways is Speedbird. Speedbird. So BAW 143 will be Speedbird 143.
Speedbird 143. What's for this?
So you always address an aircraft by the call sign. Speedbird 143 Delhi TAR or Speedbird 143 Delhi Radar.
Okay.
So you will identify yourself with the unit, air traffic control. So the aircraft would say Delhi Radar Speedbird 143, we passing flight level 65 for flight level 190. So this is how the communication takes place. Wow. And everything is recorded. There is something called the phraseology. So which means you cannot speak normally beyond the phraseology. Most of the things, एक अगर level clearance चाहिए, एक startup चाहिए, सबके लिए request startup. ये standard है दुनिया भर कहीं भी कोई भी जहाज, and that's the reason why a pilot operating in India can go and operate elsewhere also. Exactly. Or even controllers. Mostly controllers work within the same country for reasons best known to the states. They deploy their own personnel. But otherwise, nowadays internationally there is also movement. They are recruiting people from different countries, so it's quite possible. Sabhi jagah standardized,
just to make it a safer word.
So this is what is called phraseology, ATC phraseology.
Great. It is so much interesting to listen to ATC, and generally what happens, I've seen videos of people agitated just because of some flight delays or something. But if I know about all these things going at the back of the airport, that how these flights are landing.
No, I mean, you raise something very interesting, the flight delays. Now what happens is, suppose you have a single runway, जैसे Mumbai में. Mumbai ATC is doing a fantastic job. In fact, some of the best controllers in India are in Bombay. Okay. Because Gatwick is one airport where they have a single runway. They're doing close to about 950, 960 movements a day. Mumbai is almost doing a 1000 movement. They have multiple times they have touched 1000. They have consistently done more than 980 movements with a single runway. एक runway को लेके इतना, क्योंकि वहाँ space नहीं है. अभी नवी मुंबई आएगा with more runways and all that, but it's space constraint. एक cross runway है. कई बार जो है cross runway में problem क्या हुआ है कि they had एक इसमें भी जहाज निकल रहा है, उसमें भी निकल रहा है, and then they had abort take off and all that. So
I have seen that
it is unsafe. तो मुंबई कंट्रोलर इज डूइंग ए फैंटास्टिक जॉब. अभी अगर एक ही एसआर जहाज लैंड कर सकता है मुंबई में, आपने 1200 के लिए मतलब परमिशन दे दिया, स्लॉट्स दे दिया, देन व्हाट हैपेंस इज ऑब्वियसली देयर विल बी कंजेशन, राइट. एक घंटे के अंदर अगर आप 40 जहाज को हैंडल कर सकते हो एंड यू एंड अप विद 60-70 एयरक्राफ्ट, देन व्हाट हैपेंस? सो ऑब्वियसली every 2 minutes an aircraft can land on a runway, single runway. 2 मिनट के बाद भी दूसरा लैंड कर सकते हैं. इसके बीच में एक डिपार्चर को भी निकालना है. You can't have only arrivals because वहाँ बे नहीं मिलेगा. Unless somebody goes out, you want a parking stand. Very simple. जैसे आप कार भी अगर 100 cars पार्क कर सकते हो एक जगह पे, 100 cars already parked है. The next car which comes in can never get a parking unless somebody leaves. So continuously it's a dynamic situation. लोग को जाना है आना. Now if it can handle only 40 aircraft, 60 aircraft, दो मिनट के बाद 2 मिनट के बाद, तो सारे 60 एयरक्राफ्ट एक ही समय पे आ जाएगा. So if you have the 2 minutes interval, somebody lands after 120 minutes. तो वो 2 घंटा होल्ड करता है.
2 घंटा होल्ड
करता है. You can't help it because it is unsafe. You can't put all the aircraft onto the runway, right?
Exactly.
So this is why you have multiple runways. Like Delhi has 4 runways. No, but you also have some restrictions. Simultaneously 2-3 runway use करते हैं, तो capacity improve होता है. But with all that, there is always a possibility of congestion. Suddenly Delhi में weather pack-up हो गया, zero visibility हो गया, तो 50 जहाज, 60 जहाज, 70 जहाज यहाँ आके वेट कर रहे हैं. तो जब क्लियर हो जाता है, you can only have 2 or 3 aircraft landing at a time.
At a time, right?
So others will have to wait. 2-3 घंटा. If I'm a passenger, even I'll be frustrated. मैं सोचता हूँ कि अरे यार मतलब मैं कितना 2 घंटा हो गया दिल्ली के ऊपर मैं घूम रहा हूँ वही देख रहा हूँ वसन कुंज I'm able to see say for example if you can see things clearly.
It's totally understandable as well without knowing all the things.
But you don't know what is happening.
Right, exactly.
तो simple way to understand is road में भी हम यात्रा कर रहे हैं बम्पर टू बम्पर दिल्ली में ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं सपोज यू कैन हैव ओनली 100 cars in a road whereas you have 200 cars
Right.
obviously there will be congestion.
But the ratio is 100 to 1000. That's the thing.
So there will always be congestion. एक बारिश हो जाता है दिल्ली में
Okay.
you know then traffic delay हो जाता है you take
Cars
longer
float.
time to drive to your place. Same thing happens at an airport.
Cars float. Great.
So passengers also will have to become patient and try to understand. उनको ये समझना चाहिए कि air traffic controllers are doing a great job, pilots are doing a great job. Nobody wants to delay you, right? The pilot wants to land the flight and go home. The controller wants to complete his work and then go home. Everybody wants to do it as much as a passenger wants to do it. But I think it is a question of trying to understand that everybody is doing his job to the best of his abilities, best of his competencies. And if a system is constrained in terms of capacity and demand is more, obviously there will be delays. And ये समझना चाहिए. And you need to have patience. Many people road में भी honk करते हैं.
Right.
And then somebody asks, यार मतलब तुम क्या उसके ऊपर उड़ के चले जाओगे क्या मतलब क्यों honk क्यों कर रहे हो वेट करो ना be patient. So we all get angry even on a road. Same thing. Patience is important, but unfortunately many people don't have that virtue.
Most of the people need that, but we are not here to test the patience, so I'll wrap this interview up.
Thank you so much.
But if you are just thinking that I forgot, I'll make you sing and I'll ask you to sing, you're wrong. I'll ask you to sing something.
No. I think that's the last thing I would like to do. I'm not a good singer, but I can just give it a try.
Let me be the judge, no? You sing and I'll see.
Okay. Let me sing a Hindi song because I think that will be a better connect. Although I mean I'd love to sing in my mother tongue, which is Tamil. ओह रे ताल मिले नदी के जल में नदी मिले सागर में सागर मिले कौन सा जल में कोई जाने ना ओह रे ताल मिले नदी के जल में सूरज को धरती कह के धरती को चंद्रमा धरती को चंद्रमा पानी में सीप जैसे प्यासे हर आत्मा प्यासे हर आत्मा ओ मितवारे पानी में सीप जैसे प्यासे हर आत्मा भूल चुकी इस पावन को कोई जाने ना ओह रे ताल मिले नदी के जल में. Thank you.
Thanks to you for not only just singing and playing.
So you don't know why my sons asked me to shut up.
No,
I'm not a good singer.
Like the way I've said in the very starting, I won't ask you to. And you sang really well, and it was something different, and I loved it. Thank you so much for doing this. And specifically, the interview, it was like whole lot of information that's changed my perspective of a lot many things around. The next time, if I'll be going out there to any airport, I'll have a bit more respect for the people, those who are doing their jobs. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Harsh, and thanks to the Marwah Studios too, and Mr. Marwah for having me here. So nice.